What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I appreciate your time. So today we got another quick install. Maybe should take you hour and a half tops. Nothing too serious. Really easy stuff to get installed. So let's go ahead and check out the pieces we're going to be installing. For starters, we have our turn-in concepts piece. It's the updated linkage here that connects your shifter to the little piece of the transmission that moves your gear selector and all that stuff around. We have that one. We have the cartboy, kind of like, I guess you'd call it a bushing, if you will. That bolts to the actual backside of the car, and then you have the backside of your shifter piece that sticks into this hole here. The one that's on it's the original one, in rubber, and there's a lot of play in it, causing a lot of shifter slop, so that's why we're using this. As well as the cartboy bushings here. These will replace the existing rubber bushing. These are harder urethane. Eliminates movement and gives us a much cleaner shifter. So let's hop in the cab real quick. I'll show you the shifter slop that I'm talking about, and then we'll get the car jacked up, move on to the car and start pulling off the old pieces and getting new pieces installed. Alright, so if you're inside your car and your car is in neutral, all of this play is due to worn out bushings under the car. So we're going to be removing that. Also, if you put it into gear, you still have a lot of movement, and I don't like it. It moves around too much. It's not just fluid and smooth. So I'm going to be fixing it. Under the car we go. On the car in a week or so, maybe a little bit longer. Jack up the car and looky what we find. We seem to have an oil leak. And I think I know where it's coming from. I had suspected that the little case inspection cover, I guess you'd call it, sits right on the side of the AVCS module on top of the head. It was a little wet looking not too long ago, but I didn't really see any serious like puddles or anything on the top of the head. And also the cam position sensor that sits on the back side of the head on the driver's side, I'm pretty sure it's been leaking for a minute, but I didn't realize it was this bad because I haven't had any really like noticeable spots. So I think we're gonna have to start replacing some gaskets here in a second. The only two gaskets are seal type things that I haven't replaced in the whole car: the AVCS inspection plates and the O-rings on the cam position sensors. Should have done that when everything was apart. Whoop! Alright, let's get into the shifter stuff. Alright, if you slide under the front of the car, I'll show you some of the bushings I'm talking about that we're going to be replacing. There is a rubber bushing here in this section. We're going to take this 12mm bolt out, or nut rather. This little cap's going to pop off and this whole piece is going to slide over. The turn-in concepts piece, the upgraded piece we're going to be replacing, is right here. This little bar here goes into your transmission, controls where your little selectors go. There is a little, I call them pressure clips, but it's like a spring clip kind of. There's a smaller inner piece, and this outer piece you have to punch the inner piece out first, and then remove the bigger one. The last piece I was talking about is back that way, and I'll show you that in just a second. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and get this 12mm nut off, pull this plate off, pull this arm off, and then get this punched out. Alright, there's that. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this little piece off here and try to slide the shifting lever off just a little bit to give me just a little bit more space to work with. About as far as I can go with what I have. So small pin. Now for the big one. As far as that goes. And there goes the big pin. Now there is a 12mm bolt. I don't know if you can see my finger from that angle, but there's a 12mm bolt that sits right, follow my finger right here. We'll pull that out, and this whole piece right here will come right off. All right. Now that that is loose and this is out, everything should come apart, and we'll be able to start replacing the parts. That slid off. And there we go. Cool. Now start replacing and reinstalling. Alright, so this is the rubber piece we're going to be replacing. That had the little 12mm nut on it. This is the piece that's set on the back of the frame back here. So once all this stuff's disconnected, this is pretty mobile. So what I've done is taken and pushed it back and kind of pulled it. Let's see if I can tilt this a little bit. Kind of pulled it on the other side of this cross member so it dangles. What we're going to have to do is take an X-Acto knife and this first little ring right here and cut off this lip. That way we can push these old bushings out and install the new ones. So we're going to go ahead and get that done. There we go, old bushing out. See how it's a single piece, really flimsy, can squish on a little bit, it's got a lot of movement. Okay, as you can see, I've got everything laid out. Everything I've pulled out is up here. This is all the new parts and pieces that I want to install. Again, just because it's simply worn out, there's a lot of play, so that little tab that's stuck in there that hold everything still, it just causes a lot of weeble wobble around, kind of, sort of, you know. Holes nice and ovaled out. This is just a rubber bushing. It's nice and squishy. You can, you know, mash it with your fingers. Allows for play in the shifter. These are much harder urethane, and it's a two-piece system. As you can see, it's not a single one like this, so there's no pressing. You just simply put one on each side, as you'll see in just a second. Put the bolt through and it's good. This is the Turn-In Concepts revised joint piece, if you will. This connects your shifter to the actual part of the transmission that goes in and out, and, you know, allows you to select the correct gear. The bushing that runs along in here is what gave out, again allowing for all that play. Like if you pick it up, you can kind of hear it, you know, jingle jangles around a lot. Not too terribly much, but just enough to where it allows all that little play that you saw previously. So we're gonna go ahead, start reinstalling these parts, and get you guys an after shot of how much of a difference it makes in the shifter. I've taken a little bit of grease and put on the inside of this hole here, as well as spraying this tip down with some WD-40 and putting a little bit of grease to make it slick, because this is an extremely snug fit, and it's just gonna make it a lot easier. Yep, we got one side in. Now we got to put the other bolt in, which is the harder one. All right, that one started. All right, instead of tightening that stuff down all the way, I'm gonna leave it loose and go ahead and get all the other bits and pieces put in. So these are the bushings. We'll start with the back side. So simply just put it behind, press it in like that. And for the front one, do the same thing. And take it, press it in, and there we go. that part is done. All right, for the turn-in concepts piece, obviously you're gonna have to start with your bolt that goes through, and then we'll worry about getting the pin punched back in. I'm gonna have to mess with it just a little bit. It's gonna be really, really tight because of the new bushings, but it will go into place. All right, as you can see, I've gotten the new joint piece put on. I've went ahead and also installed the first little pin. The way I installed it was taking the really long extension, putting on the 1/8 inch Allen key like this, and then I set the pin on top of it. That way I could hold it, and I got it started that way, and then popped off the Allen key and then just used the end of the extension, and that worked really, really well. Now when you're putting this pin back in, you don't want to push it all the way flush with the bottom. You want to leave just a little bit out. You can take your finger and feel on the top, and I can feel that the pin is through. It could go just a little bit more, so I'm going to give it a few more taps. But like I said, you don't want it to be flush with the bottom. So I'll take it and I'll tap it. Like that. That's about the same amount on each side. So the way I'm going to start the second pin is the same way that I started the first pin. I'm going to take the extension here, put this one on. The little one just fits inside of it, and I'm going to get it started. Just like that. And again, we're going to take the Allen key off, use the extension, and tap it flush with the other pin. There we go. And maybe get this on a little bit and further tap it in to make sure it's in nice and like it's supposed to be. Right there. Alright. That wraps up getting the joint installed. Now what I'm going to do is take this linkage here and go ahead and push it on to the stud right there, and just like that, reinstall the plate like this, and put my nut back on. There's that. Alright, moment of truth. So this is in neutral. Very, very, very minimal movement. That's so nice. And the only reason I believe there's that much movement is because if you take the shifting boot off and everything, there's another connecting joint right there. It's called a pivot bushing, and that one's worn out. There are urethane bushings you can get to put in there, but I have not gotten those yet. But from before and now, dude, there's such a big difference. We'll put it into first. Nothing. Down, second. Butter. Yeah, that's nice right there. Right back to center, as it should be. Fantastic. All right, you guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. Like I said, it shouldn't take an hour, hour and a half maybe. You actually carve out about 2 hours just to make sure you can get that that little joint back into the where it goes. That was a really, really, really tight fit, but like the end result, the shifting is butter. It's so smooth, very, very little shifter movement, outstanding. Super pumped about that. Can't wait to get out and start driving. I'm gonna wrap this video up. So if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Go ahead and tag the subscription button if you've not already, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode, hopefully with some new gaskets. Later.